Hi guys, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Pieter-Louis.
Welcome to our podcast Legend and Lore, a World Tour. I made a mistake of letting Pieter-Louis pick this week's topic. And now, thanks to him, I haven't slept properly in days.
Well, a day, 2 days, couple of days. Not that long.
Anyway, today we're venturing into one of the darkest corners of North America folklore to explore a creature that lurks not in forests or mountains, but in our bedrooms. In the hours when we are most vulnerable, the eerie, disturbing figure is known as the Rake. So let's jump down the rabbit hole and explore what many believe to be more than just a nightmare.
Is it fixed to North America? The Rake. Well, we'll get into more detail obviously now about where it comes from. It's just you said now it's a North American thing.
That's
This
the
is a
details I
worldwide
got.
thing. This-
I'm not sure if it's worldwide. That's where I got it
'Cause
from.
I don't know much about the Rake. I did a quick Google now while you were getting me some juice. I think this might be worldwide.
I'm not sure if it's worldwide. I didn't 100% go into where exactly it is. We can look into that as we go along. Okay, so most people believe the Rake was born online. I know Pieter-Louis is going to fight me on this. But anyway, it's true that the creature first gained traction in 2005 when a user on 4chan/b/board began crafting stories around a new kind of monster. But I believe the Rake didn't just come from imagination. It was remembered. Descriptions of this humanoid entity was pale, hairless skin, hollow eyes, and an unsettling crouched form poured in. People weren't creating something new. They were recognizing something they had already seen in their darkest moments.
I'm going to let you continue first a bit.
The reason I'm saying this, and saying it's not just an invention that happened, one of the earliest stories referenced a suicide note from 1964. Not 2005, 1964. Long before the internet. The author wrote about waking up in the middle of the night to the Rake sitting at the foot of their bed. From that moment on, their mental state spiraled. The account stuck with me. It's not just chilling, it's consistent with what people still see today.
I have a theory.
Here we go. Mass hysteria. Some or another plague.
Okay. Before I go into my theory, I think we need to go into a little bit more background about what the Rake is. If I know when it is, it might help me in my little theory going forward.
All right.
I think I'm going to say something that you're supposed to say now.
So,
From what I've read quickly, what I know is the Rake is something that happens at night before you go to sleep.
yes.
And
No,
a
it's
big,
not the boogeyman.
Well, okay, the first thing I thought is this is the modern day boogeyman. This is
No,
what-
because the
this is what-
boogeyman wasn't pure white.
Yeah, well, the thing about boogeyman, and this is the boogeyman was children, and you grew out of it. This is now grown adult men sitting in the basement.
This guy wrote a suicide note. I actually
Yes,
read the
we'll
actual
get-
suicide
we'll get there,
note. Just
we'll get
no.
We'll get to the suicide note now. But this is now adult people that found a forum to make up new boogeyman stories. They can't sleep, and now they've got a reason they can make. Like the whole Creepypasta era of 2005, where this came from, is people trying to scare each other. But
They said,
why-
let's make up something. But
That's
the
exactly
thing is,
what it
I
is.
think
But
it's people that remembered.
But you do remember, and I think everybody remembers the same thing for the same reason. We all see the same thing. And it's not necessarily real or not real. Because like in the previous podcast, I'd like to know, is this a ghost? Is this a vampire? Is this a zombie? What is this thing?
It doesn't fall into any of those categories. It's the Rake.
So in theory, this will
this
fall
long,
into...
white
Okay, but
thing.
that does fall into the demon tier. That means that's something to a spiritual level or to
I
a
don't think
mental
demon,
state
no.
level.
Then again, yes, actually.
This does,
I can see
I do start
devil
to
and
s-
demon.
I do seem to sound like Dr. Phil now. I'm getting
I can see
all
evil
knowledgeable
demons.
about stuff. But what I do see is there's something called sleep paralysis.
Yes, we're talking
Which is
about that.
a state before you fall asleep or before you completely wake up, where you wake up and you can't move your muscle. This is a real medical thing. It's not something.
Yes, but they can describe what happens. That's where demons and stuff come in.
So, but this is it. And then a big thing. So, if I'm not mistaken about sleep paralysis, okay, just to get why I'm saying sleep paralysis, again, I think the rake is always seen at night before you go to
The
bed.
rake causes sleep paralysis.
Well, that's the thing. So what happens when you get sleep paralysis? Your limbs go numb. You basically you can't
Paralyzed.
move. You're paralyzed. And then because of the blood starting to pump in your body, all the adrenaline, you start hallucinating.
No.
And hallucinations is something.
Where is
because-
that in the medical anything? No.
Look, you can go Google it. You will see that they say you will hallucinate when you get sleep
Yes,
paralysis.
because the doctors don't want to say demon.
The doctors won't say demon, but remember, the moment you start losing blood to your important parts of your brain, you start seeing black spots and different color variations within whatever you see. You basically start losing consciousness by not being able to move. You're so scared because you can't move. You're basically tricking your brain into seeing things. And then suddenly, we all start seeing the imaginative boogeyman, whatever we thought we saw in children's books and stories. All of this suddenly manifests in your mind, and you do see something. And that something might actually, like the description of this, and Slenderman, and all the other, let's say, demon tier things, that will all look the same. Is this a big, long white thing or a big, long black
No,
thing?
this is the first big, long, white thing I've ever... No, I don't
I
agree
just
with
feel
you.
like
Okay.
this does make sense
So,
in my little...
witnesses described
Okay.
the rake as a gaunt skeletal humanoid with glowing eyes, elongated fingers or claws, and jerky, unnatural movements. Some say it whispers in a guttural language no one can understand. It often encounters in the dead of night, right as people wake up suddenly, paralyzed with fear, unable to move or scream. And here's the thing. Many of these people don't know each other, never read the stories, yet describe the same exact thing.
I
This
think-
is before tabloids, all the internet and everything, making up pictures for all that all that technology. This started. They did not give it a name because they didn't put it together. Now when we're in era we can put these diary entries and suicide notes and everything together, now we can actually see the pattern.
I'm pretty sure if I'm going to ask you to explain what you imagined the boogeyman looked like when you were 10 years old and what I imagined the boogeyman looked like when I was 10 years old, it would have been exactly the same image. It would have been maybe one less eye, maybe one bigger ear. But I think we imagined the same thing, and I can't explain why. I think that's one of those weird natural phenomena where we all were taught what to be scared of from a young age. And now suddenly, as adults, as people going into sleep paralysis, that's the thing you saw because you were so scared of this.
No. A long, elongated white figure with claws. No, sorry.
That's exactly
That
what I
would
imagined when I said coming out
never
of
come
under
up
the
in my
bed.
mind. Just because you...
Because I knew the boogeyman from under the bed, not the closet boogeyman. We were taught the boogeyman under the bed. And he had long fingers. So that's why you always would
I thought of a black figure, not white. Not weird walking. I thought of a person that came out that was more like a shadow type of thing demon, not...
And then you hid your feet under the blanket because if your foot went over the mattress, the long white
I
fingers will
still
come and
can't
grab
sleep
it.
with my foot up.
There was someone grabbing under the mattress and then
It has to
you
go under the blanket.
Yeah. Anyway, well, obviously we grew up
But
with
it's not
in
the same
small
thing.
houses, so the cupboards weren't very big. So obviously there weren't space for a boogeyman in the cupboard. So under the bed was where they were.
I don't think the cupboards are so much bigger everywhere else. And some people do have big
I know.
cupboards.
I watched Monsters Inc. Massive cupboards.
No, they didn't.
Yes,
they
they
went
did.
through a small closet with a door.
Yes, but
As long as there was a door, they came
space.
through.
Anyway,
Anyway.
we went all the way to Monsters Inc. Now.
Skeptics try to explain it all away with sleep paralysis. Yes, it's true that during sleep
So am I one of
paralysis,
those skeptics now?
you are always one of those skeptics. Always. That's why I put this in here. People often report feeling watched or seeing dark figures. Dark. But here's where it gets interesting. The reports of shadowy figures and evil presences go back centuries, long before medical science tried to explain them. What if these episodes aren't hallucinations? What if they are visitations?
There we go into the demon tier again.
In 2018, a video emerged from Canada's Northwest Territories showing a pale humanoid figure darting through the wilderness. The footage is grainy, but those who've seen it know it looks just like the Rake. The
I
same
saw
year,
this was
a
weird.
group of friends camping near the US-Canada border heard terrifying shrieks in the night and reported seeing glowing eyes watching them from the woods. They were so shaken they abandoned their campsite in the middle of the night. They're convinced it was the Rake, and so am I.
I saw the footage. Well, I think I saw the
Here
footage.
comes the skeptic in you.
It wasn't, it was a fluke. There wasn't anything there.
You can prove that.
I don't know. Like I said, this was in 2018. They all had amazing smartphones, and all they got was this image of this weird thing, weird nothingness moving around. Why not zoom in? Why not walk closer? Why not?
I don't want. Seriously, if somebody is going to attack you or see red glowing eyes, I'm not going to focus on my camera. I'm going to run while I show my camera so that whoever finds my phone eventually knows what happened to my body. I'm not going to turn around and focus, hey, it's coming for me. Then he's going to eat my phone
I'm
too.
going to go for the fame. I want the picture of the guy or the thing.
Nope,
Or something,
just
something.
nope. I don't need my
Is it-
name somewhere.
But you can say that it goes back centuries. By all means, I believe sleep paralysis goes back to the beginning of man.
Rolling
It's
my
literally just
eyes.
some point in time where you fall asleep and you start seeing things. I can imagine that's what it was back in centuries and centuries ago. People saw stuff when they fell asleep.
Over time, I'm continuing because we heard it already. Over time, the creature has crept into popular culture, short films, video games, creepypasta, but don't let the media fool you into thinking it's just fiction. What if the reason this legend spread so quickly online is because it tapped into something real, something ancient, something we've seen in our nightmares but didn't have a name for until now?
But this, like I said now, exactly, this is a nightmare. This is your nightmares coming true.
Yes, but that's the point. What if this nightmare is true? It's the reason they put it together is because it's something they saw as kids. It's something that bothered them.
What do you call that state of mind where you go into dreams, but you can do
You're
your
still
own dreams?
Oh yes, you're awake in your dreams. I can't remember. You know you're in a dream. That one.
Yeah, that one, yeah. What do you call
I
it?
can't remember what it's called.
It feels like that has something to do with this.
There was another account I read about, and this was, I didn't actually put it in, but this was one that made it more real for me. It was a mom that said she woke up because her husband went to the bathroom. And when she turned around, she realized her husband was next to her. And her husband turned around and looked at her because she tried to pull the blanket and obviously pulled it off of him. And then he freaked out because he saw something at the foot of the bed. And when she looked up, she saw this humanoid thing. But she says she wasn't scared at the moment. She thought it's just something that needed help. She didn't feel scared or paralyzed or anything. Her husband, on the other hand, looked completely freaked out. Looked at her, looked at it, looked at her. And then all of a sudden it got up and it went out of the room. And she realized it was heading for a kid's room. And then she realized she had to get up. And she ran for it and yelled for it to stop. And when she got out of the room, she just saw this creature full of blood. And then it left or disappeared or whatever. And there was her daughter standing completely covered in blood. So it actually hurt her daughter. And her husband went with the daughter to the hospital and she stayed with her son at home. And him being so freaked out, the thing went next to her husband and spoke to it. It went like a few inches from his face, and then ran after the daughter. And then her husband drove off of a bridge and died with the daughter. And her and son still live. And she still has nightmares and visits from this thing. And she also didn't know about it. But then when she started researching and realized there's more people with accounts of this thing lives. And she started recording herself because she thought, is this thing still visiting me? And I'm not realizing it. And on her third week of recording and going through her thing, she actually saw it in her room again. And she realized that it still comes to her. And she's frightened, senseless. I didn't add it here.
That's kind of worse than any of the Black Eyed Kids we've did.
Yes.
Because this is actually people getting hurt.
Yes, but this is the thing. That's what this whole story is. Him coming into your room and you either ending up killing yourself or because you're scared it's going to hurt you eventually. It first comes in, it bothers you, it bugs you, it talks to you. And it keeps on coming and coming, and eventually you die.
Because I don't know much about the Rake until you sent me the word the Rake, and this is where we are now.
I could not find that account again. That's a problem. That's why I didn't actually put it in, because I couldn't.
You mean that could just be a Reddit story? Because Reddit stories
No, it wasn't
are made
Reddit.
up.
No, it was an actual. It wasn't a. It was a different. It wasn't a Reddit story. No.
Do Reddit stories and 4chan stories do tend to get.
But I couldn't find the source again, so that's
they
why
would
I
make an
actually
amazing
put it in.
movie for that matter, but
Yes, one that I would not watch. I'm already not
perhaps, yeah,
sleeping.
yeah.
That's the actual one that made me not sleep.
I don't know much about Rake. I just thought that this was just something made up and stories passed
No,
around
it
on the internet.
killed people or people killed themselves because it basically told you you're going to die. It does actually talk to you. There was a different account also where I think it was a submarine, but I cannot remember. Sorry, I could not find the stories again as I researched. But basically, a Rake appeared one night and told them to turn around and go back. And
On a submarine.
it was an account. That's one of the accounts. They wrote it down in their log that the Rake visited him. They didn't know it was the Rake, obviously, but they explained. He visited. He said, "Turn around, go back." They listened, and then they just never went. There's no other history. They just they're like, "Sorry, we're not going further. This thing told us to leave. I'm gonna live through this," and that's the end of the account. So that's a problem. Most accounts, they say, just explain shortly. They don't give more details, broader details, so everything could be put together, so they could actually follow this and realize this is the Rake. And then when Creepypasta decided, let's make our own villain, the Rake popped up. And then they were like, okay, but I've actually seen this thing.
So the accounts were before 2005.
Yes.
So we're not just talking about between 2005 and 2010.
No, this is before, and that's why they realized something is up. They invented the Rake in 2005 on a bunch of different. They took this guy's Rake image and took him to a different, internet site that made him worse and made him worse. And then, the suicide note was in 1964.
Interesting.
Where the guy said, this thing came to visit me.
But like,
I'm struggling to sleep. It's telling me I'm going to die. I'm scared. It keeps on coming back to me. I'm scared it's going to hurt me. So I'm sorry, I'm rather taking my own life.
Because that can just be depression for that matter. But there is some legitimacy to the whole story.
Depression and something sitting on your bed, waking you every day and freaking. No, I'm sorry, that's not the same thing.
It can be.
No.
You get a bunch of different mental states.
Mental disability, mental issues and depression, not the same thing.
It might. There might be a correlation. I think the 1964 suicide note one might be the exclusion to the rule. The rest of it feels like it.
I couldn't find it again.
There might be coincidence.
I'll still go and look for it to see if I can edit the sources either way, because just to get the actual facts, because I didn't remember everything 100%. That's why I didn't put it in. But that was actually something. That was the thing that freaked me out the most and made me think, this thing is real. Please do not come and visit me at night. Said my prayers double to keep it out of my house. Yes, no, it wasn't funny. So, some people call it a modern day boogeyman, a symbol of anxieties, but it only adds weight to its power. The fear of being watched whilst we sleep, The sense of hopelessness, the cold eyes in the dark, those are primal fears, and the Rake has made them real again.
But it's scary how quickly stories will, we know them as ghost stories, campfire stories, just spread now.
But they normally, there's
The
something
thing is,
behind it.
I didn't know about Slenderman until suddenly there was Slenderman and there were memes about it. I thought it was just a video game thing. And now it's people seeing it in the forest
You
with
must
video
remember,
footage.
for people to, normally when people make up stuff, they have an image in their head. Where did that image come from?
But like I said, there is
It's
some bit of...
something that's,
but
it's
that's
a
what I
bit of
said.
truth. Everybody gives their bit of truth. So it might not look 100% like this creepypasta image they made, but it's there.
Everybody adds a little bit to it.
Because in
For
the
some reason, they all
creepypasta,
had
they
to be
keep
long,
on
and-
telling it they made it with 3 eyes and stuff like that, and the report doesn't give it 3 eyes. So obviously,
Another one drawing I saw of it had 3 eyes. But then again, the Slenderman as well also kept on changing. Everybody added pieces to it. But there must be some coincidence to coincidence. That word? Coincidence to all of this. Why people do see the same things. But I think it's just like I said, it's rooted into your childhood. It's rooted into what you saw
we
on the
tend to-
X-Files
no,
or
not
Goonies.
necessarily, because it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean you saw it on a series or something. It can be something in your dreams, in your nightmares, something your parents told you about when you were little because it was something they saw. It's, you don't know.
Because the whole sleep paralysis thing, seeing dark figures, I know I've woken up and couldn't move.
Yes, I also have.
And
That
I've
was
seen
horrible.
black figures.
But
And
I
that's
know
a-
what that
it's
was,
quite-
and I'm not going into that, but no.
That's
I 100% believe in that.
Me too, but then now we're going into a white figure. Now we're going into the boogeyman figure.
Remember, it's different. It's demons don't look the same. Demons don't have the same name.
Who says that? There's no handbook on how a demon should look like.
No, actually there is. If you no,
Oh, sorry, I'm
not a handbook, but if you go anywhere into demons, you'll realize that they're not the same. They're not the same. It's not the same. Everyone has their own thing. So no, I'm not going into that at all. But
You want to sleep tonight?
every single demon can look different. They have a different name. They have a different way to get rid of them. In all honesty, the only way to get rid of them is God. So say your prayers tonight. So what really makes me pause are the consistent accounts, especially from people who didn't know about the legend before they encountered
Like
it.
always, said, repetition is the one thing that makes that
And
legitimizes things.
these encounters are before 2005, so it makes me pause. I came across early blog entries, archives, and creepypasta.com where people swore they saw the same thing before even reading the stories. That's not fiction. That's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe in the supernatural, then maybe you'll agree with me that this isn't just a myth born online. It's a modern day reminder that we're never truly alone in the dark. So, I hope you all get more sleep than I did this week. And Pieter-Louis, he might be sleeping in a dog box for a while.
If you enjoy diving down this rabbit hole into the world of the weird with us, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share your own thoughts. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content. And please share our podcast with fellow folklore lovers to help us grow.
Until next time, stay curious and keep the legend alive. Bye!
Bye.